Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to House Divided on a Monday here on Orange Bloods Live here on YouTube. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That is Chad Hastings. We are wearing different colored uniforms today, which is, I always think of the movie Heartbreak Ridge. I always think that there's just going to be days where we come out in the same yellow t-shirt, and then there will be days when we don't. Like, comment, subscribe to the page, because why wouldn't that t-shirt story from a movie reference that's almost 40 years old drag you in? Underrated Eastwood flick, by the way. I stand on the table for Heartbreak Ridge.
Interesting. Never seen Heartbreak Ridge. We've established I have not seen a ton of the Eastwood flicks. That's one I have not seen. Dirty Harry, the original, I did scratch off the list a few months ago. It was really
Heartbreak
good.
Ridge is one I stand on the table for.
Never seen Heartbreak Ridge.
Mario Van Peebles is in it. It's like an hour and 45 minutes. It's goddamn perfect military movie.
I am at the point of my life, Catch, where if your movie is like an hour and a half to an hour 40, hour 50, I'll think way more of it than I need to, just because it's the right length.
And there's never been a movie where Eastwood just grumbles. More Eastwood insults than but per minute. There are more Eastwood insults in Heartbreak Ridge than in any other movie that he's done. I stand on the table. We must add it to the list and watch it soon.
By the way, have you seen this Brutalist movie?
No, it's on the list. It sounds like it takes forever. There's an intermission in it, which
I was going to say, hey, if you're going that way, at least respect me enough as an old man who might need to hit the bathroom once and not miss your movie. 3.5 hours, give me an intermission. I might be able to handle that if I know it's there.
There have been people who've apparently been coming out of this movie but enjoying the intermission who've been saying, you know what I kind of like?
The intermission.
Halftime.
Right. Attention, Marvel people. When y'all get back to making your 2-hour, 45-minute blockbusters, can I have a break right in the middle?
Give me halftime.
Give me a halftime break.
That is the thing that the movie industry hasn't adjusted to. We watch so many movies at home where pausing the movie it's just not a big deal anymore.
Right.
How many times when you're at the movie would you like you're in that moment where your 2 cherry ices in and a glass of water, and you're like, oh man, I gotta go pee.
Catch, I have fully
even missed 30 seconds of the movie.
Right, because I don't, you know me, I'm a very technical OCD brained person sometimes. I can't miss parts of movies. I've gone exclusively, Catch, to the smallest drink they have. They always say to me, sir, it's this size. I'm like, I know. What
if you had a halftime? Right.
If I had halftime, I could go back to mediums and larges.
Team halftime here is all I'm saying. Yes. It's an interesting. We'll transition to some Texas football. What's funny about the fact that we're talking about it's like a Seinfeld episode at the beginning of today's episode. I have a lot of Texas thoughts in my head. I mean, the Ohio State game is 4 days away. Penn State, Notre Dame's 3 days away. It's also an NFL wildcard weekend. There's just a lot of football on the brain.
How about
yet
that?
We start today talking about the portal.
Yep.
And the Longhorns did pick up. The thing about picking up Travis Shaw, for those that don't know, 3-year player at North Carolina, formerly a 5-star prospect for North Carolina. Very disappointing career. Proven to be solid. You can play him, but he's not a playmaker. He hasn't been a consistent force. He's a guy that's got NFL upside, but hasn't really been that guy in college. He's basically Vernon Broughton or Alfred Collins, the North Carolina version of that. And so he's coming to Texas. There's a chance he could be as good as being a starter. There's a chance that he'll just be their big guy. And maybe he's next year's Bill Norton. But really, that's what Travis Shaw is. I think the goal is he's somewhere. I think they hope Bill Norton as the floor. And I think their hope is that their new defensive line coach, who in very short order, Kenny Baker has turned into a guy. When he was hired, Sark said, I think he's a developer. That's why I like him. In year one, got the most out of Alfred Collins, got the most out of Vernon Broughton. I think their hope is that he can do something similarly with Travis Shaw, who's in a contract year and needs to put up or shut up. There are no more COVID years. So Travis Shaw will show up at Texas. He's proven and then he's played, but there are steps as a player that he needs to take. And I wrote about it in my 10 thoughts, Chad. And I guess I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I know that we have James with the $20 super chat that will go to that. We talked about last week the role that guys that came in from the portal played on the last game out. When they played Arizona State, they're not in that game without the guys that are in the portal, but they surely don't win it. And then it was just a huge reminder of, oh my God, this team is kind of led by a lot of, there's a lot of really critical portal pieces. Forget about Quinn Ewers, right? I mean, that's duh. But you're like Matthew Golden and Silas Bolden, and when he's healthy, Isaiah Bond. And then you start thinking about the defensive line, and there's Trey Moore, and there's Andrew Makuba, and, there's a lot of guys. It has been a vehicle that has helped Texas out. And I think the addition of Shaw is a good one for Texas in the portal in 2025 going into next season. By the way, it's weird. That's the first time I think I've said 2025 on a show.
Yeah. Nobody writes checks anymore, so it's just verbal.
Hey, no mistakes. I'm a pro, kids.
Yeah, well done.
Don't try this at home. It's very tricky. I don't know why I said that like Mac Brown. Somewhere this Mac Brown came out of my Sorry, kids. Don't try that at home, kids. It's dangerous. Fires and stuff. I've never heard Mac Brown say fires and stuff either. So anyway, it's like, where are all of where's the Matthew Golden, the Trey Bond, the Andrew Makuba, the Isaiah Bond? I think one of the things, if you're a Texas fan, that's fair to ask about the portal, because people want to know, how do you grade it? Is this good enough? What should we expect? What is there still left to do? What should we make of the spring? Is the spring going to be different than last year's spring? There's so many questions. It is Travis Shaw commits, and then it's like, oh, so they're going to take another defensive tackle? It's like one question after another, after another, after another. And I think at the root of all of this is Texas has turned out to be a really good portal shopper. They certainly did so a year ago. They certainly did so the year before that, when they wouldn't have made the playoff, I don't think, without Adonai Mitchell alone. Is there anything yet in the portal that, if you're Texas, makes you think, cool, we got our Matthew Golden, our Silas Bolden, our Trey Moore, our Andrew Makuba, we got our difference makers? And I think it's fair to say at this point that that's not there. That there's certainly no Isaiah Bond. And I don't even know that you look at a guy like Matthew Golden, who is an all Big 12 performer, and a guy that, at least as a special teams player, Andrew Makuba, three-year starter at Clemson, starts as a freshman, rock solid player. Is there anybody who's definitely like that? And I think the answer is no. And I think the next question is, can they get any of those guys? And I think it remains to be seen. But where there's a will, there's a way. Stay tuned, I think, probably for the spring portal, because when I've talked to sources, even when they were interested in Travis Shaw, and they also brought in Marvin Jones Jr., who signs with Oklahoma yesterday. When I talked to a source on Thursday, it was like, we're kicking the tires on some guys. I was specifically asking about Noah Thomas. It's like, we're kicking the tires on some guys, but there's nobody that we're breaking the bank for, nobody that we're breaking our neck for, nobody that we think is on the level, I think, of some of the guys they took last year. So I think it's a really important deal. I think if you were to ask me about 2025, can they do in 2025 what they're doing in 2024 without some splashier portal guys? There is a part of me that thinks no.
So and so far, Catch, I think the best way to explain kind of the portal is that we went through all that and didn't even play the intro. Like, I feel bad for Travis Shaw.
What do we do? Can we still get away with the holidays?
The question was, I was going to ask you, A, is he good enough to get the intro? B, do you consider January 6th still the holidays?
Can I hear them both again?
Or do we need to play the other one? Like, those are.
Well, let me hear the holidays one last time.
All right. Could we get away with this today?
Can't get away with that.
No, it's still too late, right?
Can't get away with that.
Even though I've still got my Christmas lights in my yard, and
I do too. Yeah.
I've got until January 31st, according to the HOA, and I get as close as I can get. I'm the old man.
I mean, I'd keep them up all year long if they would let me, but can we get away with that music? No.
That's a no. All right, that means we have to go with the more Willie Nelson kazoo style. If you haven't heard it, here is Portal Combat. Get over here! I love that one the more I hear it, because it starts like Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. And then it's got the Get Over Here, and then Willie and the family are playing at the end, it feels like. I just love it. It's very bizarre.
That made my day better.
Yeah, it really
is all that,
So Travis Shaw, we at least think enough of you that you get the intro. You get the Portal Combat intro. But, Catch, we've been talking about this for weeks now, and every single, it's always kitschy, no matter what you're talking about, to say, every blank isn't built the same. People do it all the time with outside of sports, but in sports, it's every schedule's not built the same. Every team's not built the same. And in this case, it's probably just every portal's not going to be the same. It's not going to feel the same. And a portal that includes Walter Nolan and Evan Stewart and Isaiah Bond and some of those guys, it's just maybe not going to go to that level every year. So
it might be that nobody nationally has that next year, that nobody will look at. I think we'll look back at the Texas portal class from last year. In 10 years from now, we may still be holding that up and saying that's the holy grail, to come away with 3 badass receivers. I mean, Silas Bolden's number 3 on that list, and he's a game changer, certainly on special teams, was this past weekend. But
think about it, Catch. We always talk about Bond ending up at Texas, maybe because of like the whole Saban thing. But remember the other weird ingredients. Silas Bolden may have ended up at Texas partially because he was at a school that just kind of didn't have a conference all of a sudden. He was in a Pac-2. Well, what the hell's a Pac-2? And he was trying to figure all that out. Maybe a little, and Golden knew where he would ultimately be, but he was in a new version of a conference, and maybe that was a little confusing for him, whatever. But yeah, there was a lot of weird stuff last year. I still haven't, there's a couple.
Look at it like this, Chad. I'm going to play a game called Star or Not a Star, okay?
Right.
Matthew Golden.
At the moment, no. At the time he was coming to Texas, no.
No, I'm talking about right now.
Right now,
on
yes.
This Texas team.
Oh, yeah. Right now, yes.
Isaiah Bond.
Yes, when he's healthy.
Silas Bolden.
Nah, I can't go that far. I want to, but I can't go that far.
Trey Moore.
That's a great one. Has he worked himself to star?
I think he is. I think he's.
Yeah, I'd say, okay, he could work himself into star status. Yeah.
Andrew Makuba.
Yes.
Man, that's 4 guys that came from the portal that are stars on this team.
Yeah, and maybe even more of a reason as we get ready for this game, now that they are into the Final Four.
And Quinn Ewers.
Oh, yeah, right. And the quarterback. There's that guy, too. But now, the strike while the iron is hot. This is your opportunity. We're reminded of it every year in the NFL with an expanded playoff system. Every single team is its own singular thing. It's never good. This team does not exist next year. It just doesn't. the full team, the full coach, just everything about it. You get one shot at it, and you're absolutely right. Like, there's no way to talk about this team without talking about the portal. I just think 2025 is going to feel different. 2025 is going to be about young guys that were already there that are going to need to take another, just going to need to crank things up and take a step. I don't think there's going to be, you just named 4 or 5. I don't think there's going to be 4 or 5 guys like that on next year's team.
You may be right. And look, there was a little bit of that. We know Ohio State had some of that. We know Ole Miss had it, and it just didn't work out. And I really don't count Alabama, but Oregon is a school that a year ago, it's funny. I did my super blue chip rankings, and for the OU fans watching, yes, I made that up. It's a Jeff Ketchum creation. I did my super blue chip rankings right after signing day in 2024. And Oregon had 10 or 11, which when you're talking about, that's less than half of the Texas size or even the Texas A&M size. But for most of the rest of the country, that's a lot. But by the time we got to September, they'd boosted that number to 14 or 15, where they were, I think, tied with Texas A&M going into the season in terms of the most high-end recruited talent. And it's interesting to look at the teams that are still alive and how many of them have used the portal. And I think you may be right that last year there was such depth to the portal. And I think we'll get there again because I think there won't be as much money, free spending money available in future years as there were in this year. We'll go into future years and there'll be like salary cap conversation and how much money is still available. There will be weird conversations that we're not having yet. But this year, everybody's flush with cash, including Texas. So retentions turned into a thing where everybody across the country, for the most part, is keeping their own best players. Way more so than they did a year ago. And we haven't had any of the major shakeup things that you and I have talked about where Ohio State changes a coach and then they hire a coach and suddenly 5 or 6 programs have been impacted and all of the players in those programs are free agents and Katie bar the door.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think we may get into next season and it may be about who had the best foundational pieces before anything happened, who already had the best foundations built. And if that comes into play, then Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, those are the 3 schools, quite frankly, that have kind of separated in that kind of way. So, look ahead to 2025. If it's about foundations and not about necessarily portal gatherings, I think those are the 3 programs that from day one will start with a head start on everybody else.
We got over 600 folks in the Specs chat, and we already have a couple super chats, so let's grab them here. Jeff referenced a 1999 from James. Thank you, James, for that 20 spot. Sark has to win his way, not by exploiting other teams' weaknesses / mismatch. It's outside zone or bust for the run offense. That works better against power rush, A&M, Clemson, than speed rush. Arizona State, Georgia lives and dies by his own sword. Interesting way to look at it. James, I'm rewatching Ohio State's last 2 games and trying to look at, how Oregon and who was the other one? Tennessee tried to attack that Ohio State defense. And Catch, it's something I think about watching games about how would Texas attack them. I was looking for more straight ahead, smash them in the mouth kind of run game against Arizona State. That's not really what they did.
I used to love this show called So You Think You Can Dance.
Yes, you did.
I still do. I would watch it if it was on. They kind of, I don't want to say they ruined it. It wasn't as good at the end as it was for a decade, but I just loved this show. It's a little bit like Dancing with the Stars, except there are no stars. They take these kids off the street who have their own genres of dance, and then they have to dance in all of the different genres, and at the end, there's a winner, right? Well, sometimes the best dancers, you'd watch either a hip-hop artist or a ballet performer, and you'd watch them in their genre, and you would think that can't be beaten. And then the next week, the ballet guy would have to do a hip-hop set, And you would think to yourself, oh my God, has this guy never danced a hit? And it changes. And a lot of times you'd watch that show and those guys would do anything to be able to work in their genre. I mean, that's what Sark is. I think it's, look, Sark has to win his way. His way got him to the semifinal. Like, I think, it's a hell of a thing to grab any of these guys who are all uber confident individuals to get to where they are, to sell them the idea that they're leaning into that and then it's wrong. I mean, it's like telling Chad and I, you guys should do this show in a language that isn't English. See how that goes. We could try. We could sit here for 90 minutes and, probably get that far as we would trying an actual another language.
Muy bien.
I'd probably flip you off a lot. There'd be lots of fists and arms and I don't know, headlocks. I don't know. And, but no, we stick with what we do. And I think that's, I'm not going to blame Sark with that. Look, they do that outside zone because they think that that's their best way to run the ball. We can't, in the third playoff game that they're going to play, take this thing that they've been working on diligently every day for 50 plus practices now. And more than that, I mean, I'm just thinking spring, August, bowl workouts. That's not even including in season. Take all of that work and then before the biggest game of the year to say, guys, you know what we're going to do? Something completely different. Man, that's not the way it works. It's not the way anybody does it. And honestly, a complete reinvention of sorts sounds like panic. Now, look, Texas got to play better. They have to run the outside zone better. But they're not like any other team that's left. We all know what everybody's doing on offense.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess when I read James's comment, Catch, I think of it as, it can't be that is the only types of runs they have are slow developing run plays that go down the line of scrimmage. Like, it can't be that way. I go back to Arizona State, that game. It's 14-3, and if Quinn hands the ball to Wisner, he cuts up the middle, and he would still be running. He might have run into the goalpost, but he was at least getting like 12 before anybody was going to touch him. And that was a straightforward run.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What is it that we think Arizona State did to the Texas offense? Or what was going on with the Texas offense where they weren't on the field? Like, do we think, okay, Arizona State stopped their run, they stopped them? Or what? Because I'll be honest, that wasn't Georgia. When Georgia stops the Texas run, my eyeballs are like, oh, well, their D guys are better than the Texas O guys, and they whipped those dudes because they wanted to be there, and like that's what happened. I'm not being dismissive of Arizona State because I thought they played well, and I don't. And look, to the victor go to spoils on some level, although they didn't win and they gave up a bunch of points when it mattered most ultimately. But did Arizona State stop the Texas run, or was something else going on with this offense that just it stopped itself? Or both. Right. I don't know.
And I think that's what James is getting to, because, again, I think there was a certain weird comfort in, well, you just can't run against Georgia, 1.1 yards per carry. But it was 1.8 against Arizona State. And that's the frustrating part if you're a fan, because it didn't look like the most badass defense in the world. And going in.
Did it feel like they got physically dominated, or was just Texas not able to run the ball?
I mean, to me, it was the latter. They weren't able to run the ball. But there were little moments where, and I don't know the difference, like where Sark would tell me, look, Chad, we're blocking the same way on every single play or whatever. I'm just telling you, I didn't feel like there was a concerted effort to smash somebody in the face, and that's how you beat Ohio State. The last time Texas was this kind of an underdog was at Tuscaloosa, and they beat them in the end by smashing them in the face. And that's the type of run game I'm interested in seeing. Wow.
I just wanted, it felt like when I saw it, because it's in all caps,
really
too,
yeah,
with an exclamation mark, that it felt like, okay, the Christmas, it's over.
Okay,
guys, we knew that, we just hadn't played it, but we heard it, we know, but
and to be fair, maybe that's Sandman just having a fight with somebody about Christmas in the chat. I don't know, but
I mean, maybe, but I'm going to assume he didn't like it. That's okay. I like the new one. It does. It has a little asleep at the wheel action going on.
Yeah.
ATX Bates. Fault Quinn if we don't get 19-year-old Ryan Williams. Credit Arch if we do get him. Did I miss anything?
I don't know, but Catch, I'm glad ATX Bates brought this up. If I am counting correctly, we are talking on the last possible day for Ryan Williams to get into the portal and end up at an SEC school. Did everybody just follow what I said?
Yeah, I did.
Because if it's a 5-day window after his game is over, they played on January 1st. Today's January 6th. I'm assuming that means midnight tonight as we're talking. But if he doesn't do it now and he goes to the spring window, I think the SEC is still going to have that rule that you can't go SEC school to SEC school from the spring window. I'm not sure why that needs to happen. But anyway, I think it's still a thing. So if I'm doing the math
they can
correctly,
also change that.
They could. If I'm doing the math correctly, Catch, and they don't change those rules, then Ryan Williams could get into the portal and go anywhere he wants today. But tomorrow, he first of all, he can't get in the portal tomorrow because the new little window would have closed. He'd have to wait till the spring, get in the portal, and then go anywhere but the SEC. That's the way I understand those rules. So,
sometimes these colleges, these conferences, they're that aggressive guy in the group that will always say something crazy, and then the rest of the group never does it. Or hey, let's go get tattoos of everybody's initials on our bodies, and maybe, hey, let's go get penis tattoos. Here we go. And then he runs off, and everybody else is kind of like, this your man? And I feel like that's the college conferences. I think the SEC was like, what we need to do? We need to put some of this tomfoolery from the portal. We need to do away with it. So we're going to create a rule where nobody in the conference can transfer within the conference in this other portal window. And they were thinking, that'll show those kids. And the rest of the conferences were like, yeah, we'll take them.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? Here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to restrict our schools. If you're going to do that to yourself, by all means, let your SEC talent come to the Big Ten, come to the ACC, come to the Big 12. It makes zero sense the way that the SEC implemented that. And it wouldn't surprise me if before we get to the spring portal, somebody's going to complain and go, we're asking, we're basically, especially in a year where the SEC and the playoff hasn't performed as well as it would want to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, Texas is the only one left in the semis. You're going to go out of your way to make it harder for your schools to be better and easier for the competition. As I talk myself into it, it's January 6th. That rule's changing in less than 60 days.
I would think so too. Big Chet is right, by the way. It was the 31st. I had it mixed up with another bowl. That's right, because the CFP games happen on the 1st. So he's right. It is done as we're sitting here talking on the 6th. The 5-day window for Bama, Michigan, anybody that played on the 31st would be passed. And it's just a very old school idea, Catch. That's the way the schools used to be, remember? When a coach would talk to a player and he had a list he could say no to, right? It'd be like you're dating someone and they say, well, we're going to break up. Like, okay, well, you can't date Sally. No matter what
Yes.
you do, you can't date Sally. That's the way it used to be. The Bama coach could say, well, you can't go play at Auburn or Tennessee. Go anywhere else. And now this is kind of the official.
Or they used to be able to say, nowhere in the SEC, the Big 12, the state of Connecticut, you can't play in Guam, and no Puerto Rico. Like they can really limit what a kid could and couldn't do.
The question now becomes, if it's going to happen, let's say Ryan Williams does want to play somewhere else. What is better for the SEC? So, like, go back to last year. So let's say take Walter Nolan and Evan Stewart. One ended up inside the conference, the other didn't. Let's say both of them had to go outside. Would that have been better for the SEC or not as good for the SEC?
Think of it like this, Chad, because here's what happens. Everybody just gets into their feelings and makes it so 5 feet off the ground about me, right? I want you to think about you and your wife and y'all's, I don't know, like 8 to 10 closest friends, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can add any famous like male person to the group to be in this new, we're friends. This is our group. Who would you add? Okay, just go with me here.
Okay. Oh, I'm adding the famous person?
Yeah, add somebody. Add a man, a famous person to your inner circle of friends.
Okay. John Bon Jovi.
Okay. Boom. John Bon Jovi's now a close personal friend of Chad and several of his other friends. They bowl and shit. They do stuff, right?
Yeah.
They go hang out at John's many owned things. Now, got to have a woman. So you're also going to name a famous woman that's in the inner circle.
Gal Gadot.
Poof. Gal Gadot is now in the inner circle, right? Now look.
I got insider Wonder Woman stories for days. It's awesome.
Now we've got a group of about 12 people. What we've all got to agree to, like we're conference mates. No matter what happens, no matter what comes through that door, no matter what happens in terms of, like disasters or scandals, our friendship group is better when John Bon Jovi and Gal Gadot are in it. Can we all agree to that? You guys, so one of the couples might get divorced. One of them might sleep with John because Chad.
He's John Bon Jovi.
Yes.
Right.
Gal Gadot might, because she's Gal Gadot, right?
No.
But what we've all got to agree before any of this happens is that if that happens, all of us shouldn't be punished. Because of your issue, we shouldn't have to stop hanging out with Gal Gadot. And I think that's kind of where we are on this. It's nobody wants Ryan Williams to transfer, but you make a really good point. If he does, do you want him going to Ohio State? Do you want him going to the Big Ten? No. And I think college football, especially the SEC, is so reactionary that I think the SEC will take some offense to only one team made it to the semis. The traditional power, Georgia, was short. Alabama doesn't even make it in, and then they get embarrassed. Tennessee gets embarrassed on the road at Columbus. Suddenly the SEC doesn't feel quite as high and mighty. They will not go through this offseason without making tweaks that they think will help the SEC cheat its way, advantage its way to more success. And I think by the time, it's interesting. I've heard Sark over the years get asked certain questions and he never seems to be tripped out about it. And it's like, he knew that there wasn't going to be a 25-man number, and he wasn't ever going to say anything publicly, or he knew this or he knew that from a numbers standpoint. I think that's going to be what happens here. I think they're all just going to know when it's all said and done, and then it'll just happen.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. We got one more super chat in this first wave we can hit here. Oh, here we go. $5 from Sailor Joe. Do we think Sark has been holding out on his play calling for a game like this? Is this the all chips in on Friday, or are we just not executing? Sailor Joe, you hang on to that idea as long as you can. And by as long as you can, I mean, don't say stuff like that after this game. Like, it's silly to me all year. Fans love to do it. But please, after this one, please.
I mean, they've been in overtime in 2 of their last 3 games.
If they survive this game and get a win, if they win this thing and go to the championship, can you please not send in chats like, you think they're saving stuff for Penn State? Do you think they're holding something back for Notre Dame? Oh, my God. Oh,
the thing is, Sark is not trick play guy. It reminds me of, by the way, congratulations to Brennan Marion, the new head coach at Sacramento State. But it reminds me of when Brennan Marion got hired at Texas, and a reporter asked Sarkisian in the offseason if he was going to run more of Marion's go-go offense, which Marion had run with success at Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And you might as well have asked, like, Dale Earnhardt if someone else was going to drive on the way to dinner. Like, some things are just, they are. When Dale Earnhardt, or Dale Jr. for that matter, when they get behind the wheel of a car, that is breathing for them. They're not good shotgun people. And I kind of think of Sark that way. Like, Sark isn't a big trick play guy. Like, he does his stuff. And he's one of these guys that I think gets insulted. I've told this story before. I used to work at a barbecue place, and this guy walked in, this stoner. It's like 11 o'clock in the morning. And he tells, like, the general manager of the store that the thing that we need that will put us over the top is macaroni and cheese.
Right.
I'll just tell you, man, that the chef meister, that is insulting to them.
Yeah, he didn't love that. He didn't love that idea.
What, man, he slaves over a pit cooking meats for hours and hours and hours. And it's like, mac and cheese. And so, I think that there's a little bit of that but we keep thinking that there's more. And I think Sark is constantly devising new things, but whether or not you use them in a game, it's not, that stuff doesn't always work.
Yeah. And
sometimes you run a trick play and you lose 9 yards and it's 2nd and 19, and then you punt. And then you ask yourself after the quarter's over, why did we only have 4 plays on offense? I mean, sometimes that stuff goes backwards.
And Joe, for me, again, there's a lot of fans that have that thought process. I'm not trying to get on you specifically. Just for me, I always think of it as, are there things that might get individually worked on? Sure. But this notion that there's always, Texas fans love to do are we saving something up for OU? I don't know. Are you saving up something for A&M? Because this year it was at the end of the schedule. I don't know that I buy into all that. I'm a believer in put it on film. I'm a believer in put it on film and make every team that has to face you deal with that idea. Do you see that fake punt Texas ran in week 3? No. What was that? Make Ryan Day dig that crap up right now. Run something against ULM. Run some weird double reverse that Ryan Day has to deal with now. That's the way I would do it. But, the thought is that coaches hold stuff back. And when you see a creative play against Ohio State, you go, there it is. That's what they've been holding since September. Maybe.
I love the fact that there are multiple Dua Lipa suggestions. Not that there's anything wrong with Gal Gadot, but there are a couple of people that heard that conversation that were thinking to themselves, Dua. Hey, Keith. Yeah, sure. I think what Sark calls most of his trick plays are just well-designed plays. They will run a play that looks like a trick play because of the way they've able, to create motion or just how guys have lined up. He's not a Statue of Liberty guy. He hasn't been a big double reverse, flip it back to Quinn, double pass. He's much more of and ironically, the story of this game, no, Colin. Wait, is that what this says? Yeah, sorry, my eyeballs. Yeah, no, they've got trick plays. I just think it's funny that there are multiple people asking, do we think that there's something in Sark's bag that we've never seen before that might make the difference this week against Ohio State? And I think the story of the game is actually, can Texas actually do the things that it does all the time really well? Or, because to me, that's the difference in the game. It's not, is there a play or two that Texas can run at some point in the game that will serve as a trick play that will win the game? It's all that stuff that we see them do every week. Can they do that pretty good? Because I think that's the story of the game, honestly, for both teams. The closer this game gets to Friday, Chad, the more I think we're actually looking at Steelers and Ravens, old school. And nobody's really talking about the fact that it's the number 1 and number 2 defense in the country playing against, I think both teams have offensive lines that coming into this game you've got some concerns about. Inside the last month, both of these offensive lines have kind of had their I's dotted on a couple of occasions. So I think the best 2 units left in the playoffs are, in any order, the Ohio State D and the Texas D. And it really could be first one to 17 wins this game. It doesn't, that would not be crazy. It would, I think, speak to the occasional inconsistencies that both teams have at quarterback. I mean, surprise, they might play a badass defense, and that might keep them from having really big numbers. It is, what do you think the point total is?
That's a great question. I was about to ask you, and real quick, Vivek was throwing in the idea of a reminder of the wide receiver passes. That's a good version. There were 2 of them, the golden passes against OU. Yeah. That is obviously that would be considered a trick play. For me, Catch, I was going to ask you, do you feel like this could be Notre Dame, Georgia in terms of a score? But right now for me, like 21 feels like the number.
I was going to say, I bet the team that, I could very easily see this game being 10-7 at halftime either way.
Yeah. And that's going to be a big key here. And we're rewatching games. In the first quarter of the CFP, Ohio State is 35-0 over its opponents. 35-0 first quarter. So the first step is just don't be getting drilled after the first quarter, like duh. But if you can do that, get it into a ball game.
Texas this season has historically been one of the best first quarter teams in the country.
And they've been at least in containing things, right? They're not giving up a ton early. We've seen some 7-3s and 7.
Well, they give up very little for the most part. It's what they've not done.
Right.
I think at the end of the first 5 or 6 games, Texas was the only team in the country up until one point that hadn't allowed any either first quarter points or first quarter touchdowns. What Texas hasn't done is the nuclear thing that Ohio State has done in the last couple of weeks, which is
right.
It's 21-0 after 15 minutes and the game's over.
Yeah.
That's not quite who Texas has been, but Texas is, I guess, other than the Clemson game, like they haven't been perfect but for most of the season, they've been pretty, you don't get points on us early. And I think the key to this game might be survive. This might be the ultimate Mike Tyson showdown if you're Texas. Hey man, just don't let him freak you out. Don't let him lure you in to a 2-round fight. It's going to go 12. He can't outbox you. Don't lose your mind because he's super aggressive in round 1. And I think if you're Texas, man, if I told you, if I said that it was 0-0 midway through the second quarter, it kind of sounds lovely to me.
Well, that's where you want to be. Right. It's exactly where you want to be. And in a way,
you'd like to have some points, but I'm just saying that the style of that game doesn't bother me. And I think that, one of the things that Texas did get to play against Georgia twice. I think that helps them. They have played, and Ohio State has as well. Both of these two teams play with their, forget about what's happened in the playoffs, at least for Ohio State. Both of these teams so far this season are kind of notorious for playing with their food. Now, what has made Ohio State different the last 2 weeks is they've eaten like they're in the military. You ever had one of your homeboys come back from the military?
Oh, yeah, right.
And you go someplace to eat, and they eat like you've never seen Major Payne, have you?
No, I have not.
Well, Major Payne eats fast.
Okay, fair enough. That's Damon Wayans?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Very underrated, but I'm not going to tell you today on a day when I've selected a movie for you that you have to watch.
Yeah.
I will pass on Major Payne and putting that into your to-do list.
Major Payne is not the movie. All right. We got a super chat we will get to. Thanks to almost 1,000 of you in the Specs chat. Let's also thank some of our great partners here on Orange Bloods Live. Let me talk about breathing. It's sinus and snoring specialist. We are into the new year, and it is damn cold where I am today. It may be damn cold where you are today when that weather starts changing rapidly, crazy Texas weather or wherever you happen to live. It can really mess with the sinuses. It can mess with the way you sleep. It can mess with your allergies. This is the place that can fix all that stuff. Sinus and snoring specialist. I went in 2017. I have not regretted it since. My wife's got a CPAP machine she loves, and she has that every night. Maybe it's one of those things for you. Maybe it's Inspire, this new technology that's come out in these last few years, the very latest in ear, nose, and throat. It's available at Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Go meet Dr. Slaughter in the first consultation. Get that process started. Make sure you mention Orange Bloods Live. We do appreciate it. 601-0303 or go to sinussnoringent.com. Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. And we hope everybody is staying safe and warm wherever you are today. By the way, somebody threw in the chat that there may be snow in the forecast for Arlington on Friday. It obviously won't affect the game itself with the roof, but if you're going up there, be prepared for some weather to get in the way when Texas and Ohio State get together. That should be interesting. One other super chat we had was this one from our man Tom G. $10. Do we take the ball if we win the toss to put early pressure on them? Tom G, I would still defer.
Yep. Absolutely defer. Do you know that if you go over to YouTube and type in Heartbreak Ridge,
yeah,
you can both buy and rent it, but they've got about 30 different scenes from the movie individually on YouTube, which warms my heart. But then there's a Siskel and Ebert review of Heartbreak Ridge that I am absolutely terrified to click on.
That could be scary. Is Heartbreak Ridge the one? I haven't seen the movie, but is it the one where he's in full camo face paint smoking a cigar?
Yeah, he's in the Marines.
Okay. I there's a scene of that movie I've seen where just that much of a blurb of he's in full camo face paint and he's smoking a cigar.
Oh, this is like Clint Eastwood they make him basically the baddest mother. You know, before you got into the Jason Bourne movies and everything, where everybody knew every combat move known to man. They're like programmed into you, like the Matrix. Before that, you just had guys that could kick the shit out of each other. Well, right? I mean, this is him after Philo Beto. So he's no longer in the prime of his fisticuff lives, but he's still at like the back end of his I'm a badass Marine prime. I'm telling you, I stand on the table for Heartbreak Ridge.
I'm going to check it out. We got one of our guys, Brandon, jumped in and said Clint Eastwood at his finest. All right, I'll check it out. Heartbreak Ridge is now officially on the list.
And it used to be on both TBS and TNT like every 5 minutes. I'm stunned that you haven't seen this movie because it was only on cable television for about 30 straight years.
But you know me. I'm never going to watch it that way, ever.
I know. I'm talking to the guy that still hasn't seen It's a Wonderful Life.
There's two reasons. There's two reasons, Catch. I don't watch a movie if it's got commercials in it because that's silly. But I don't watch edited movies. I don't. I'm assuming they let Clint Eastwood swear.
Oh, there's definitely swearing in this movie.
And I'm assuming there's violence that TBS or TNT might want to curtail. I can't do it that way. Can't do it that way. I got to do the real deal. ATX Bates jumps in and says the trick plays, in quotes, are the plays that are counters off of what Sark has already done. I would kind of agree with that. See, to me, Catch, I just don't like the discussion.
Running your offense?
I don't like this discussion for Texas fans. This shouldn't be your discussion going into this game. That sounds like fear. What, do we have any trick plays? Just beat them. Just beat them. Oh, you Boise? Are you Boise against Oklahoma? Ask yourselves that, Longhorn fans. Is that what you want? You want a Statue of Liberty? You want a crazy fake play that flips the announcers out? You're Texas. They're Ohio State. Go beat them. Trick plays. Come on. If this comes down to trick plays, or you know what the key to this game is, fellas? If Arch Manning's part of the run game, all right, you've already lost. You've lost. It's over. Buckeyes advance. If those are the things you're talking about going into this game, Buckeyes win. If that's all you care about, like go beat them. What are we talking about?
Normally, Chad, I think you're a man of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, Chad, I think that you have your finger on the pulse. Normally, Chad, I think everybody agrees with Chad and nobody agrees with me. I'm the crazy one. But since I 1,000% agree with you now, you must be cray-cray. You must be loco, because everything that you just said, yes.
Right?
Meg Ryan orgasm, yes. I don't want to hear about a trick play the rest of the week.
Yeah. And Harish, that's not it. That's not it. It's just that notion.
This is the de facto national championship game to me. And I just have a hard time believing that in Columbus, Ohio, they're walking around this week going, wonder if, do you think Ryan Day's got a trick play lined up for Sark? I mean, go be the best team in the country. That's what Friday is. Yeah. Friday is Texas's opportunity in one night to be everything that it's always wanted to be as a football program. Since 2010, they get to go do it. They get to go. It's not a guarantee. It's kind of 50-50. Every time I see ESPN put their like SFPI or whatever the hell they call it index, and they've got Texas listed as a 51% favorite, I think to myself, sure, 51-49 either way. These two teams feel like they should be playing each other. And I don't know who's better, and that's what I want to find out. But I kind of want a fist fight to break out and not a can I trick my way to second base? Like, I mean, I get it. And if they throw a halfback pass on Friday for the game-winning touchdown, I'll view it the same way that I view the Butch Johnson touchdown in Super Bowl 12. Like, yeah, cool. But deep down, I like to just kind of impose my will also. And the best part of Super Bowl 12 wasn't the Butch Johnson trick play. It was the Dallas Cowboys defense imposing their will to such an extent that, like, they named a couple of defensive guys co-MVPs. That's kind of what I want to see from Texas in this moment, because if they can accomplish that, I think they come out of it on Saturday morning in a new hemisphere as a football program. I think one of the cool things that they get to play for on Friday is a shot at the top. And Anwar and I were talking about this earlier today. Out of principle, he made me punish Alabama. There's no Saban. They're not the same thing anymore. They don't get to be on the top level. Well,
so it's just Georgia and Ohio State?
Yeah, and look, there are people who are like, well, Ohio State hasn't won a national championship since 2014. So, like.
But in terms of being in the mix, in the discussion, recruiting at the highest level, like I'll give them love for where they've been. I mean, they've been in the discussion for a while.
Oh, they're in my top tier.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Like for me, it's probably Ohio State and Georgia. And I was including Alabama earlier today just to not end up arguing with somebody.
Right. Out of respect for what they've built to this point. Yeah.
But it might just be Georgia. If you're a really tough grader and you're like, you don't get to be on tier 1 unless you've won a national championship in the last 10 years, then what we've really done is we've told ourselves the top tier is Georgia.
Right.
It would mean there's a second tier that might just be Ohio State. And the thing is, if you're going to dock Alabama, you have to dock Michigan. They are not the Jim Harbaugh Michigan Wolverines anymore.
Yeah. And you also have to dock Clemson because even though they have a couple of titles, they don't feel like that anymore.
So I think Texas has a chance to essentially put itself with the top 3. That if they can beat Ohio State, to me, they're the favorite against either Penn State or Notre Dame in a national. I think Friday is the national championship game. That the winner of that game will beat whatever comes out of the NFC South. And
oh, wow. I could tell you were cooking up an insult, and you did. I could tell there was a Fighting Irish Nittany Lions insult coming up, and it was like, what am I going to go with? NFC South. Right to the ribs of the Irish and the Nittany Lions.
They know. Although, credit to Notre Dame, though. Notre Dame got to take a step, though.
Yes.
And I think that somebody had mentioned either in the earlier show, in the Overreaction Monday show, or just on Orange Bloods, maybe yesterday, that, well, the loser of this game, and they were specifically talking about Texas, that if Texas loses to Ohio State on Friday, they will get a chance the next time they play to gain the clout that they would otherwise be able to gain on Friday. At which point I told him, and Chad, feel free to disagree with me, we don't know it yet because we haven't lived the experience. But we're about to live in a world where the only way you ever gain clout is now, in the postseason, on Friday. If you were to tell me that Texas loses to Ohio State on Friday, but they beat them in September, that does not feel good enough. That does not feel like the accomplishment that's needed. You don't come away with a win in the beginning of next year with any guarantees at all for what it means for the rest of the year. You win on Friday and you are in a national championship game. You're the favorite to win it, and the moment for you is now. And it's a chance to do and be everything that OU and A&M would be terrified that you would accomplish in year 1 of the SEC. I just don't think we're ever going to live in a world again where you could do something in September and it changes who you are as a program. That non-conference win, because in the future, if you do what Oregon did and you lose in the quarterfinals of the playoffs, that's the only thing anybody will ever remember moving forward.
Yeah, I think in a real system, I think that's a fair point for the teams at the top. I think there's things you can do in September that gets you to, attention, that gets you from like obscurity to the middle of the pack.
True.
But these teams we're talking about, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, you get a big win in September, all anybody's going to do is think forward as to what that means.
I mean, if Oregon beats Georgia in the preseason opener next year, it doesn't mean that when we get to December or January that we're all not going to talk about the fact that they've never won it all in December and January. And that's that's their narrative. I think one of the things that if you're Sark, you would like to do, think about Stoops. Stoops got it in year 2 at Oklahoma. Then he never got it again. Mm-hmm. But the one thing he didn't have to do his entire career was chase this ghost.
Right. It was nice and quick.
And I think if you're Sarkisian, then if you can just get it done now, then you get to play with house money for the rest of your career. They don't ever completely, like Sean McVay. He's always going to be Super Bowl winning coach. And I think that there's a little bit of that with Sark if you can do it. The thing you don't want to do, I think, is be kind of where Ryan Day is right now, where although he knocked the dust off of a lot of that hate in the last win against Oregon, man, if he loses to Texas, he's right back where he started, which is he can't win the real big one. And it's exactly what they were saying after Michigan. So that's the other element in this game is it's like, I know Ohio State's a favorite. They probably deserve to be by a couple of points, but it's a big game. Isn't this exactly where Ryan Day is supposed to fail? Isn't this really – his history says right about here is where he gets, and then it falls apart on him a little bit. Yep. So, you know, I get more optimistic for Texas the closer this game gets. I don't know if that's confirmation bias. It could be. But I think we overrate Ohio State a little. I think we underrate Texas a little. I think this is really going to be a 4-quarter fist fight. I don't think it's more than 60-40 for either team. And I guess the question I asked Anwar this earlier today, because this could just be the answer to this whole thing. Fourth quarter of this game, Chad, are you taking Will Howard or are you taking Quinn Ewers? Last 15 minutes. Somebody's got to go win. It's a doozy, isn't it?
Yeah. Will Howard.
Quinn Ewers has never lost to Will Howard.
True. The team around Will Howard, I think, would be the ultimate answer to the question. I think he's got slightly better weaponry, and that's why I might lean towards
Okay. Forget about that. Which quarterback? You don't get away with that. Like, if there was an imaginary injury to a starting left tackle in this game, then we could go, well, I'll take the other quarterback because no, we're not doing that. We're looking at the players. Everything else is equal. Would you rather have Will Howard in the fourth quarter of a national semifinal game, or would you rather have Quinn Ewers?
Oh, so we're doing like a straight up 7-on-7, the teams don't matter comparison.
Yes. They play with the same group of players.
They play with the same group of players. Who would I rather have?
In that case, Pro Bowl. And they're both like NFC quarterbacks.
In that case, I'd probably go Quinn. If it's just pure guy on guy, I'd probably go with Quinn. But
you know why? Because I don't know that I have a different answer, but I don't know how to quantify why I think that, because Will Howard, at least this season, over the course of 14, 15 games, has been a better player than Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, in the end, it's probably just a little bit freakier arm. It's a little more of that. If I need,
what if Howard pulls off the upset last year in Austin? That changes your answer, right?
I mean, maybe, but it wouldn't have been. I mean, he was quarterbacking a pretty clunky football team, and I don't think of him as a badass quarterback. Quinn can be a badass quarterback. That's not how I look at Will Howard.
I thought in the second half of the Kansas State game last year, they couldn't touch Will Howard. Like, they had no answer for anything that he wanted to do until the last 30 seconds when, hey, thank God that like a couple of things happened the way that it did. But when they got first and goal at the 7, you and I were doing the live reaction show. And I know my reaction at the time was a very loud Carl Lewis singing the national anthem. Uh-oh.
Right. And to be fair, a lot of people look back at that moment and they don't blame Will Howard for the failure of that moment.
Oh, I don't know that I do either. But if he wins that game,
they blame the play
about
caller.
Last season changes.
Right. But the play caller is the one that gets blamed. When I hear people blame that moment, and if they don't want to give Texas's defense credit for the stop, they'll blame Colin Klein for that moment.
Boy, when Colin Klein gets into the red zone,
yeah, look out.
He has a rep.
He does have a rep. Cover the middle of the football field. If Colin Klein is called,
as soon as you started with not everybody blames Colin Klein for what happened with those 4 plays. I immediately was like, oh, here we go.
Right. Not everybody blames Will Howard.
What did I say?
You said Colin Klein.
Oh, well, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Not every. Yeah. Right. I was working my way.
Distinction to make.
Well, no, I was making
sure.
No,
I'm not. I'm full on in agreement.
Right.
Of all the names I could have said, yes, you definitely needed to correct me.
Yes, I did not want people to think that I was that Aggie doing that. I was doing the exact opposite. All right, so 3 super chats we're across the 1 o'clock spot. We will get those super chats. Let's also remind you, if you are looking for a little online poker, the good folks at Hijack Poker ready to go. This is Texas Card House presenting Hijack Poker. Get the app. You can put it on any device you want. Go to hijackpoker.com. And the OB20 code is good through the month of January. You get $20 in free play all through January. Just use OB20. And like it says there, you can cash out at one of the 6 Texas Card House locations. This is for all you online poker players in the great state of Texas. Also, remember, we're going to be at TCH Social Austin to see these 2 guys get it on. We were just talking about them, Quinn and Howard. $1 draft, $2 jellyfish. That starts at 5:30, an hour before kickoff of Texas and Ohio State. Going to be a lot of fun. Checking this one out on Friday evening.
All right. We have. Can I ask you like just a random question?
Sure.
Have you seen? There's the Billy Bob Thornton show, Landman or whatever.
I have not seen Landman.
But have you seen the snippet of Jerry Jones from this week's episode?
No.
I have.
Yeah.
It's some legit Daniel Day-Lewis method acting.
Wow. How about that? Is he Jerry Jones or is he playing someone different?
He's playing himself, which, you know.
Jerry acting like Jerry.
It's not exactly like Shakespeare that he's being asked to do. He's right. Jerry being Jerry.
Okay.
But I tell you what, man. Did you ever see the old Friday Night Lights TV show? Any of it?
No, never did. You were really cooking towards something, I could tell. Feel bad.
Well, they have a way of shooting that show where they're like real uptight. There's a lot of close-ups of like when something emotional is happening, you're like in the face. They do that with Jerry. Jerry's doing this scene, and it's like a 3-minute scene.
Oh, wow. We get close-ups of Jerry?
And Jerry at one point's trembling, and it's like, God damn, Jerry's the best actor that's ever lived on the face of the planet.
Oh, my God. Some Cowboys fans will tell you he's been acting like a GM for like 27 years now.
Well, he's so full of shit in this scene. I know he's acting.
Yeah, right.
Like people are like, is he just doing? At one point, he's like, and I did it all. I just did it to be with my kids. No, you didn't, Jerry. I'm not saying that Jerry doesn't love Stephen Jones. I'm not saying that. What's his daughter's name?
Charlotte.
Charlotte. He loves his kids. That man did not buy the Dallas Cowboys because he was like, "Oh, it'll be a good time to hang out with Charlotte and Steven." No, that man was like, you know what? I've kind of always wanted to do my entire life on the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, wait a second. Are you telling me that this quote that I read about on social media from Jerry Jones, it wasn't from a press conference, it was from Landman?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Well, it depends. Like Jerry says a lot of things.
This thing with Jerry talking about why, I didn't buy the Dallas Cowboys to give it to my kids. I bought the Dallas Cowboys to do the job or whatever, that whole thing.
See, I think you're mixing them up.
Okay, I can't.
Jerry did like an exit interview yesterday where he was asked like, yo, would you ever do anything where you would give up being the GM?
Okay, so that was legit. That was a real presser.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, I'm just making sure.
But in Landman, man, I don't know what the hell's going on in the show. I don't watch it, but Billy Bob, they're in a hospital. And Billy Bob is sitting in adjacent, and he gets Billy Bob choked up.
Oh, my God.
When it's over with, Billy Bob Thornton is choked up, and you're like, Jerry freaking did it. It's like the Catalina Wine Festival when Will Ferrell, when they kill it at the end. You've seen that, right? Step Brothers?
That's a Step Brothers reference. Yes, I've seen that. I've seen Step Brothers. Don't worry, people.
I was going to divorce you from this show in the middle of the show.
Yeah, I'm getting accused of not having a television today. And then this one, someone's threatening to fight me. Oscar says it's a great show. Don't respect it. Don't disrespect it, or I will have rage. Oscar, I'm not disrespecting Landman. I heard it's great. Yeah,
Landman truther coming out of the woodwork.
I have heard that it
whoa,
is.
Whoa, Chad, whoa. Did you say something about Landman?
No, I did not. I hear it's great. I love Billy Bob Thornton. I love everybody.
Jerry, they win an Emmy for this. If they, at the end of it, they're like, Emmy for guest appearance in a limited or whatever TV series, and they play this little thing of Jerry where he's like, one day you'll be in this hospital room and you'll have all of the people around you that love you, and they'll be there because they love you and not because they're supposed to be there. Oh, Jerry, it's like,
wow,
where are you getting these Daniel Day-Lewis, my left foot chops?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Also glad he found time to do that outside of his.
The one thing Jerry finds a way to do, get other things outside of running the Dallas Cowboys done.
Yeah. If he could have just maybe called for like a Trey Lance start 5 weeks ago while that was all going on, that would have been great.
Oh, that's my favorite part of yesterday was in not giving Cooper Rush the start. You've heard about this, right? Cooper Rush missed out on a $500,000 playing time bonus.
Oh God.
So you saw the way that the Bucs reacted when Mike Evans got his mill?
Sure.
Was
mill?
it $3 million?
$3.5
million.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Cowboys finally played Trey Lance, because if they'd played Cooper Rush, he would have hit this threshold for snaps. It would have given him a $500,000 bonus. And they asked Jerry about it afterwards. You know what Jerry said?
That's business.
Wasn't me. He acted like he had no idea that was a thing.
Wow.
He's like, had no idea. That's not why we didn't play Cooper this weekend. We wanted to really give Trey Lance a chance. I have no idea what you're talking about. I love the fact that Jerry just played dumb.
That's crazy. I missed that part. After all the good that was in the NFL yesterday with incentives, that was Jerry's version. Of course.
Jerry's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, well, wait a minute. You're the general manager. You do know that there's a $500,000 bonus. Okay. First I'm hearing about this afterwards. Thanks for letting me know, though.
Unbelievable. All right, we got 3 super chats to clean off here. Let's do it real quick. Jordan, $4.99. Can Texas's best beat Ohio State's best, or do we need a Michigan performance from Ohio State?
I think a Texas's best would force a Michigan performance from Ohio State, but you're going to need Texas's best.
Yeah.
Yes, Texas's best could absolutely win this game.
I would agree with that. Ohio State's best it looks damn good right now. That's what's got people kind of in their feelings because of what they've seen these last 2. But I would agree with that, Jordan.
I feel like I'm that. Who's the groundhog? Puxatawny Phil.
Correct.
I feel like with the Texas offense, asking if the good version is going to show up is a little bit like, hey, do you think Phil will see his shadow this year? And it's like, oh, well, he hasn't for the last 7 years. Well, do you think he'll do it this year? And it's like,
yeah,
I don't know, but the momentum hasn't been good. That's how I feel about
offense. And that's why Ohio State probably needs to be the amount of favorite that they are. Because recently we're seeing them at what feels like everything's clicking a level. And that's not what we're saying about the Texas offense.
Over 14 games, they haven't been better than Texas. But over the last 2 weekends, that version of Ohio State has been, I think I've already said it once on this show, though. I keep, the closer we get to the game, the more it just feels obvious what kind of game this is going to be. It's going to be a little more rock'em sock'em robots than I think the Georgia Notre Dame conversation is probably a good one. The winning team might separate from the other team when it's all said and done, but I just feel like we're going to get into the fourth quarter and there'll be two teams punching each other really hard. And that one of the things about this Texas team, they don't get blown out. Like that got nipped in the bud, right? You lose the last 4 Texas losses. They lose in the last seconds in Dallas to Oklahoma. They lose trying to win, throwing into the end zone in the last seconds against Washington. They get beat soundly by Georgia, but that's still a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. And when it was over with, as sloppy as they'd been, nobody was like, oh, man, Georgia really took Texas to the woodshed. It wasn't quite that. It was they beat them soundly. They beat them by 2 scores, but it felt like Texas played really crappy and still was in the game. And then they go to overtime in their most recent loss against Georgia. So, look, Texas can take a loss, but they're uber competitive in everything. Like, there's no reason to think that this game's not going to be really, really competitive for 4 quarters. If there's a team that's got a smidge, I mean just a smidge of Glass Joe inside of it, then it's Ohio State. Because we've seen, like, Michigan will just slap them around, and Ohio State will forget who they are.
But
and they get this Michigan complex that's very Texas OU back circa 2002.
Right, but that's still whatever humiliation that was. The final score was 13-10. Right?
Yeah, man, but they got punked.
Fair enough. But in the end, if they hit a 34-yard field goal, they win.
Well, I just said neither of these teams is getting blown out. That's not who they are. When was the last time Ohio State got blown out? Probably against Michigan, but not this season.
Right, not this year. Yeah, one of those previous ones. I agree with you. Neither of these teams feels like a team that's going to get boat raced. But there's those feelings out there, and that's why the line is sitting at 6. By the way, it is held at 6. The Notre Dame line's actually gone up to 2.5. So the money is coming in a little bit on the Irish. Catch Sailor Joe is back with a $2 super chat that we must get to. More Arch to help viewers settle if needed. Any Arch Manning in this game for you?
He's trolling me. No.
No Arch
They
Manning.
might go to Arch for a play or two. Like, I think now it wouldn't be viewed as a gimmick. I think they might, if they get into a situation where, like, it's 3rd and 3, it kind of depends on what else is going on in the run game. We know that they won't necessarily do that at the expense of Trey Wisner if Wisner's in a groove, but like, if they need help in the running game, I think they'll take that more seriously than otherwise.
Yeah, that would be one thing, man. If Texas, obviously the first thing out of the block, I know everybody's going to focus on Smith. If Texas can't deal with these Ohio State running backs, I think that's what really gets their offense just cranked up. The way they use Junkins and then using Henderson on the other side, like it's –
well, when you're Texas, man, like there's a lot of like little storylines, but they got to finish in the red zone. If Texas gets in the red zone 3 times on Friday night, but they only score 1 touchdown, they're probably losing the game.
Yeah, don't be the Vikings from last night.
It's perfect.
Right?
You can be competitive. You can be in like hey, it's the middle of the 3rd quarter, and like if we get a touchdown, like here we go, and then the next thing you know, you're like, oh. Wait, it's 24-9?
Yeah, if you didn't watch that game and just looked at the score, you'd think the Lions thrashed them and Minnesota just did nothing all night. And that's not what happened at all.
But you have to score touchdowns. And I don't think and the reason why I bring this up is I don't think there's going to be a lot scored.
Right.
If you're Texas and you get an early touchdown, you know the way to think about it is, okay, that's 1 of 3 that we need. Because if you get 3, maybe mix in a Burt Auburn field goal, not including anything special teams or defense does, you're sitting at 24, and like that really might be enough. But I don't know that this is a game you're getting 4. This is probably not the week. Because you know what I'm not predicting? Texas to be in the 30s. And I really don't think Ohio State like that. Like, these are good defenses.
Yeah, they are.
And neither of the other team's offenses do gimmicky stuff. Sark's a little more meat and potatoes. He just dresses it up nicely. he puts like parsley on his steak. You ever order a steak like at Sirloin Stockade, and the steak is like $4.95, and it comes with a baked potato, but when it comes out, there's parsley on it. It's like, dude, I know I ordered a $4.95 steak. Like, you don't have to do that. That is not what these teams are offensively. They're not $4.95 sirloins. And I think there's still a Sirloin Stockade in Round Rock.
I believe there is.
Shout out to Sirloin Stockade. We used to ruin the place when it was on Lamar back in the day at McCallum.
I did not think we'd get a Sirloin Stockade shout out today. That is fantastic.
How much do steaks cost at the Golden Corral?
My guess would be like $6.95. $6.99.
Beautiful thing about America.
Maybe $8. I don't know.
You go to the right place, you can still get a steak for about $1 cheaper than you could back in 1995.
One of my favorite things, Catch, about my next door neighbor is that if you try to down talk the Golden Corral steak, he'll fight you. He'll get dressed up to go have a steak at Golden Corral because he loves it. And that's one of the reasons I love him.
What is it that we can say about a universe where everything's more expensive except the cheapest cut of steak that you can find at like a family restaurant?
Yeah.
You can't even get a can of Coke anymore for less than like a couple of dollars.
Yeah, it's true. But we still have cheap steak.
But where can a man get himself a $5.49 steak? And if there's an America that doesn't have one of those places, it's not an America I want to live in.
That's when we'll have lost that moment. That's the moment where we will have.
The thing is, there's more than a handful of people in the Specs chat right now who are like, go ahead, Chad, say one word about Golden Corral steak. I'll come through this chat like a sugar glider.
I know. They love it. They love it. And they should. We got a couple other super chats. Let's grab this one real quick from Thomas. $4.99. He's thinking about the rivals. If we win a national championship this year, what does that do to OU and A&M in terms of pressure and recruiting? Thomas, I bet they wouldn't even notice.
I was like, Thomas, you're writing the words out loud. You know the answer.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know what the answer to that question is in Norman and College Station.
What would it mean in College Station if the Longhorns win a football national champ? I know. You don't actually have to finish the question. You know.
Yeah, you know. You know exactly what that would mean. You're going to want to head to those message boards, Thomas, about a minute.
Don't get rid of your TexAg subscription. Sit that one out and enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Go ahead and double check on that one. Thomas, thank you for that. S-Roan jumping in. Arch starts against the Harlem Globetrotters. Who wins? Ooh. Arch is a great underrated dribbler. I'm going to go with Arch. Arch by 10.
Well, yeah, man. What was it? What was the name of the team that they used to play? The Nationals? Wait.
Washington Nationals, Washington Generals.
The Generals, yeah. The Generals eventually won that game. Like the Generals ended the Globetrotter streak.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's not like when Texas beat Rice 30-something times in a row.
Yeah, the mystique is now all gone.
Yeah, once it's happened, it's happened.
Arch can take him 1-on-5, and he'll throw a bucket of confetti. It'll be awesome. That'll be incredible. That'd be a good game. Very good game. Wow. Text guy says sirloin at Golden Corral is $15.99. All right, Catch. We don't.
No, that cannot be true.
You don't live in that world anymore, apparently. I've not been for the steak at the Corral in a while.
No wonder the Corral's been going out of business.
Damn,
no offense to anybody working at the Corral.
What is happening? All right. We are we're almost to buy or sell time here. Speaking of food, and drink. Let me hit you with a little Deep Eddy Vodka tasting room. I can vouch for their stuff out there. They got great barbecue out there in the Crimson Creek Smokehouse Barbecue. It's right there on site. They've got all these great cocktails. Go check them out. Also, speaking of steak, how about a 3-pound tomahawk steak that takes a full day? You have to order it 24 hours in advance. If you want it, it's right out there at the Deep Eddy Vodka tasting room. Crimson Creek Smokehouse Barbecue will get it ready for you. Thursdays through Sundays. Take some friends, take some family. Maybe go out there this Thursday and get ready, for the Texas game on Friday night. Get a little warm up going. Thursday, 12 to 7 are the hours. Check out the Deep Eddy Vodka tasting room. Tell them we said hey here at Orange Bloods Live. All right, Mr. Ketchum, are you about ready for a little buy or sell? Is there anything else we need to hit?
One quick thing.
Okay. Because
I'm gonna believe that you've not heard this story because I've not heard this story.
Okay.
But if Wikipedia is correct, the last time that the Generals beat the Harlem Globetrotters was January 5th, 1971.
Wow.
In Martin, Tennessee. At the time, it ended a 2,495 game losing streak. Curly Neal did not play in the game.
Ah, there you go.
Now, let me read you the rest of the Wikipedia entry, okay?
Okay.
While the Globetrotters were entertaining the crowd that day, they lost track of the game and the score.
Nice.
They found themselves down 12 points with 2 minutes to go. Forced to play normal basketball, the Globetrotters rallied but could not recover. The Reds secured their victory when the 50-year-old, whoever this guy Klotz is, hit the game-winning basket with seconds left. Then Meadowlark Lemon missed a shot that would have given the game back to the Globetrotters. The timekeeper tried to stop the clock but could not. When the final buzzer sounded, the crowd was dumbfounded and disappointed. Klotz, this player for the Generals, responded by saying, "They looked at us like we killed Santa Claus."
Damn. You think the crowd freaked out when the Undertaker streak ended? My Lord. I've always wondered, Catch, how much in those situations, like how much gimmick to the wrestling world, how much work is in one of those games, I mean, like I would assume that if it's tight late, that the Washington team is instructed like, hey, y'all understand this is still
if you want to keep getting the paycheck.
Yeah, it's still a work. Y'all get this, right? Like we're going to make it, it's a good show, but it's a show. You realize the Globetrotters have to win, right? Okay, good. Here we go. Like I would assume
what happens if they forget how much time is in the game and what the score is?
Yeah, like at some point, this one crossed that line where the Washington players are like, well, if they're not going to do anything, all right. Like, I'm going to shoot.
I told them there's a minute 38 left in the game.
Hey, nobody stops my jumper, man. If I get a shot, like, all right, Klotz, do whatever you do.
I know it's a work, but I'm literally under the rim by myself. Am I just supposed to airball the shot? Like,
if the ref's going to go 1, 2, 3, and he's not going to kick out, like, what do I do?
Look, the kids thought, because can you imagine if you lived in Martin, Tennessee, and it's 1971, the Globetrotters coming to Martin, Tennessee, that's got to be about as big as anything that's ever happened in Martin, Tennessee. Like maybe one time Elvis in the late 50s came to Martin, Tennessee.
So in 71, Catch, do you think there was a shoot quality to that in that the fans like got mad and followed the Washington players to their cars or the bus and like threw rocks at them?
It doesn't say that, but
is Tennessee folk in the early 70s?
No, and I won't say the thing that I'm thinking inside my head.
Yeah, don't say that.
But
because I just thought it too, but don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that.
Funny enough, there was a parade the next morning in Martin, Tennessee. No.
Yeah. Hold on. Text guy found a better price, Catch. $12.99 if you get the 6 ounce. 6 ounce steak at the Corral is $12.99.
I gotta look this up, man.
Do I get full salad bar with that? I do, right? Come on. Do I get
no? I feel like Sheriff Buford T. There's no way.
Do I get 2? I got to get full trip to the salad bar, chocolate fountain, ice cream if I want it. Like I get everything for that $12.99, right?
Okay, well, look, I believe I have found the Round Rock location.
Yeah.
And look, first words that pop up, free buffet.
Free buffet. Now, are you at the Stockade or the Corral?
I'm at Sirloin Stockade.
Okay, so no, Tex guy is still at the Corral, I think, with the $12.99.
Oh, well.
Because Tex guy told us it was $15.99 for the sirloin at that was at the Corral. So I think he's at the Corral. So what are you seeing from the Stockade? Free buffet.
Well, they don't have a very good menu online.
Okay.
Go ahead and start Truth or Dare or Buy or Sell or whatever the hell we call it.
Ooh, we should do Truth or Dare. No, we shouldn't do that. That would be.
Do you know that my philosophy in Truth or Dare is I'll take truth every time. You are not going to get me to do some crazy shit.
Yeah.
But like I'll tell the truth about anything.
I'll admit to anything. I will not do anything. That is a good way actually to play that game. That definitely will work. All right, so we got Buy or Sell coming right up. Before we do it, let's get you, speaking of things that people love, how about the holiday spot from AV Consultations? Tom McKay, Camilla McKay, reminding you what they can do for you, and then we will Buy or Sell. Don't move.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations. We've been providing custom electronic systems for Central Texas for more than 36 years. And
old man, I think they all know who you are and what your company does. This is Camilla McKay. The old man believes in big fun and big ideas. He can make dreams come true, so why not dream big? I've been up in Boston, but I know the old man and all his friends and fellow radio heads have been spreading the holiday spirit here in Texas. Why should we stop there? Keep spreading the good feelings all over. Audiovisual Consultations carries all major brands of televisions and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And you don't have to leave your house. Just like Santa, they deliver the gifts to you.
yeah, I like that, kid. Throw a party, hang out with your friends, catch a concert.
That's all fun and good, but can we get back to the business? You can give us a call at 512-255-8678 or visit our website at avconsultations.com for some cool electronics.
Oh, now you're forgetting something.
And as always, hug your kids. We only pretend to be annoyed. Watch some games with
All righty, Mr. Ketchum, are you ready? Are you want to go first or second with Buy or Sell today?
I need you to ask Dad a question about that spot.
You need to ask Tom. Okay, what's the question?
Just because I have a 10-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
At what point? Well, there's a question I guess I'll ask. Well, your daughter's in high school.
Mm-hmm.
If your daughter was hanging out and part of her, like, if she was like, you know what I say, Dad? Just fuck anybody you want to.
Wow. Jeez.
Well, it's the same thing, right?
Damn. God. Not in some movies. Lord.
Okay. Make love to whoever you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay? Like, at what age do you just become comfortable that your daughter is an actual human being and you have to treat her with respect and like a human being and not something that you protect at all costs with like shields?
That is a really good question. At what age?
Like if your daughter, who's
Yeah, I'll ask
at that
Tom.
age, she's at an age where things could happen. Are you still shielding it?
I would
do
have,
you keep a shield in the car. It's like, I never know when I might need to protect you against the world.
right. I will ask Tom the question in terms of for his kid, but I think, I don't know, like high school probably.
I was going to say college age.
Yeah, I think high school is probably the
I think you know your kids are getting something on in high school, but you like, oh, maybe.
But you don't want to hear those words, is what
you
you're
don't
saying.
want to hear, yeah, like, well, what happened last night? Yo, threesome with my friends. Like, you don't want to hear that.
Yeah, that's a little
There
different.
gets to be a point. I just think it's in college where it's like, okay, well, you know, they probably had a one-night stand.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know. Like, at what point do you just assume do your kids do human things?
Yeah, I think it's a little different if you're talking about hearing individual stories versus hearing like an overall life thought.
Like a philosophy.
A philosophy of life. That's two different things.
Well, okay. Well, then at what point do you get comfortable with that philosophy when you have a daughter?
Me?
Yeah, because if
Oh.
I had an 8-year-old and was out here like, you know what we say, Dad? Which would make no sense for an 8-year-old to say it. But if it did,
Right.
we would be like macho. It'd be like, oh, yeah. It's a chip
Catch,
off
you know
the block. He's a lady killer.
Catch, you know me very well. There's very few conversations that I'm afraid of. The answer to that question for me is 5. 5 years old. Let's have whatever.
I now know your answer. I'm good.
Whatever conversation you want to have, we will have it. All right. We will get that super chat, Barb's 10, as soon as we get done with buy or sell. You going first or second, Catch?
Yeah, I just thinking this. How many of us have ever truly just been able to make love to whoever the hell we want to?
Yeah. Well, it's
It's
theoretical.
like Keira Knightley, get your ass over here.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Did you hear what Camilla said?
If you look at it that way, no one gets to do that.
Except for the Prince of Zamunda.
Nobody gets to do. Even Brad Pitt in his prime technically doesn't get to do that. Like Brad Pitt in his prime doesn't just get to storm into a restaurant and just pick anybody in the place. That's not how it works.
What about Ric Flair?
He'd try, but no, the police would be called and things would be contained. Things would be controlled.
You know who doesn't need a magic time machine? Like 1970s Ric Flair.
Yeah, that's true. Excuse me, Nate. Can we keep that in the robe? We got people trying to have some $10 steak over here, huh? Thanks.
By the way, I looked. Sirloin Stockade just tried to go legit. That's
Okay,
their thing. They try to go legit.
So they're serving some like steak, real steak.
I mean, they had a $26 12-ounce ribeye.
Boom. There it is. They're not playing. The name's it's in the name. Sirloin is in their name. I mean, come on.
The cheapest steak, not Jesus Christ. Dinner rolls are $6.50 a dozen.
Wait a minute. Hang
And
on.
look, just to be fair, though, the dinner rolls at Sirloin Stockade have historically been pretty fantastic.
They're charging $6.50 for dinner rolls?
For a dozen.
Oh, that's if I go in and get them. Okay, but I get them with my meal, though, right? Yeah. Okay. Man.
I don't want to. What I have stopped doing is putting words in the mouth of Sirloin Stockade. Although the fried fish looks yummy. All right, buy or sell. Let's go.
Hang on. I like Jody's comment first. Ric Flair could do it, but at a bowling alley, not a restaurant. It's a good call, Jody. Good call. All right. First or second, Catch?
I'm going to go second today.
All right. Buy or sell number 1, Catch. Texas and the points +6 is your Monday gut.
Buy. 6? Yeah, man. Give me 6. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't know that either team's going to win by 6. So, yeah, I'll take some points.
Yeah, I kind of that's my feeling right now, too. We'll see what the pick ends up being, but I'm with you. Buy or sell number 2. Your Monday gut also says Notre Dame beats Penn State by 2 scores or more.
Sell. I think that's going to be a really close game.
Okay. You like Notre Dame? You have a thought in that one for a winner right now? Just the pure winner.
Penn State.
Penn State. Okay. Buy or sell number 3, Catch. Super Bowl 59, Detroit and Kansas City.
Buy. That sounds about right. Although, you know what? Sell. Because that would mean both the number 1 seeds went to the Super Bowl.
And
that doesn't happen all the time anymore. So
true.
I'll take somebody besides one of those 2 teams getting there.
I'm going to tell you what, though, Catch. I'm not just saying this because he's an Aggie, but apparently you can throw any MacGyver-like problem at Aaron Glenn, and he will figure it out. You could hurt like every D tackle he's ever had. You could take his cornerback and, send him to the hospital. You can do anything you want, and he will figure out an NFL defense. It's crazy what they're pulling off in Detroit to win that game like they did last night. All right, Catch, how about a birthday for you? Buy or sell number 4, Bradley Cooper turned 50 yesterday. Prime on prime, Bradley Cooper is better looking than Matthew.
Buy.
Think so?
Now,
those are 2 of my favorites. I'd love to look like either one of them for like a day.
give me the peak. Peak Matthew for you is what?
Time to Kill.
Yeah, it's Sweaty Matthew in A Time to Kill.
And then for my Bradley Cooper is The Hangover. I think he's never looked like cooler and just better looking to me than in that movie. I know it's a rough version at times, but that's a badass looking Bradley Cooper to me. So I say Hangover Bradley Cooper against A Time to Kill Matthew.
He does. You know what though? Limitless might be his hotness peak.
Limitless is a good one. I have seen that one in the last year or so.
Because the whole point of that movie is making him perfect.
Right. That's true. That's a good one. I'd still lean. I'm a Southern boy, so I'm going to lean Matthew a little bit. You got the accent and everything. I think I might rather be Matthew if I could be one of those two.
Like there's a redneck in Taylor somewhere right now. Hey, American Sniper. Don't sleep on it.
Americans. Oh, that's a good Bradley Cooper now. That's a good.
He actually does good facial hair.
He does. That's a great movie too. With what's the woman's name that plays the wife? She's great. I can't think of her name right now. Anyway, all right. Happy birthday to Bradley yesterday. Catch, buy or sell number 5. You watched the Golden Globes last night, and you give Nikki Glaser an A.
Buy and buy. I thought she was fantastic. I didn't think the Golden Globes. I mean, it dragged a little. It's a long show with a lot of awards, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Didn't they just give out that award? It's like, oh, no, now it's a comedy and a music. Okay. But the supporting, like, there's some weird things going on. But Nikki, she's the new champ. She's the new, she should be hosting everything champion. And I give her a lot of credit because the last time we really said that about somebody was when we got 2 together. It was like, oh, well, if you pair Amy Poehler
and Tina
Fey together, what could be better than that? What I didn't know if Nikki could pull off is because she'd do an entire show where only about 5% is kind of her normal deal. Like she told a great joke about Texas X. It's in Twisters.
Oh, yeah. Glenn Powell.
Thank you. Did you see the joke she told about Glenn Powell?
Yeah.
You were in everything last year. You were in Twisters.
And I knew she was headed there, too. I knew she was headed towards some kind of sex joke. It was good.
You were in my brain last night when I was having sex with my boyfriend. It was like, oh. So we still got like a little like, oh, Nikki went there. Yep. But she was also like just really funny and kind of put down and classy. Like I think everybody had a good time. That she got Adam Sandler to say Chalamet like he was Bobby Boucher was funny.
Yeah, that was a good setup. Obviously, they probably worked that out ahead of time, but to get him to do it and yeah, that was
well. Look like Chalamet knew it was coming.
No, Chalamet didn't know. I'm saying I think Sandler and Glazer knew that was happening.
To Sandler's credit, he really leaned into it. He did the hand wave and
it was great. Yeah.
Timothée Chalamet. It was very good.
It was solid. All right, real quick, catch bonus buy or sell because you weren't here Friday. Danica McKellar turned 50 on Friday. While the world was talking Winnie Cooper versus Becky Slater for Kevin Arnold, you were Team Madeline.
Easy buy.
She was something, wasn't she?
The thing about Winnie is it felt like there were lots of Winnies. And it always felt like what was the other girl's name?
Becky Slater.
There were lots of Becky Slaters in the world. Mm-hmm. We've all known thousands of Becky Slaters. The French one was like unattainable. Yeah. And the thing that happened in that show was that little punk ass Kevin Arnold somehow had unattainable fall into his lap. The reason why that show worked is because that's not how it works in the real world. That girl goes out with just an older guy. In the real world, her entire life.
Yep.
When Kevin Arnold is in the 8th grade, she's dating somebody in college. You don't get Madeline in the real world. What made that whole thing work was like, whoa, Madeline? Really? Yeah, no, I've always been Team Madeline.
Yep. And once she kissed Kevin Arnold, I'm thinking, yo, Kev, All bets are off, brother. All bets are off. There are no more rules. All right, Catch, that's what I got. What do you think?
Buy or sell number 1, Nikki Glaser, hottest female comedian of all time.
Oh, wow.
Like, I've never thought about it before. I don't know what the hierarchy is.
I will. My gut.
But she's sexy as hell.
She's very sexy. She's very sexy. My gut is to sell because Sarah Silverman's in my head, and at her absolute best, I think she might be hotter than Nikki.
Oh, I don't think so, but go ahead. That's fair.
Yeah, I'll sell. And real quick, just a quick concerning comment towards Nikki Glaser. I love everything about you. Be careful on the Joan Rivers stuff. Be careful. We can all see you're having work done. That's cool. And you reference that you're having work done. But please think you're enough along the way that you don't do what Joan did. Just please. I can see.
The moral of last night was Demi Moore showed up at 60 looking amazing and told us all that for decades that she didn't feel worthy enough. And it was like, you're Demi Moore.
Right. And that's crazy too. And that's another one. She went down that path too, Catch. I don't get that. Where it happens to everybody. It happens to everybody, especially in that world. Even the most truly attractive people don't think they're attractive.
So are you going to see the substance now that happened? Like, or are you heeding my advice?
I'm going to heed your advice. I'm not going to see that movie, especially when my wife told me how many gallons of fake blood were used in the movie. I'm like, well, stop. I'm good.
I love that. Hey, does Wendy know anything about this movie? Hey, Wendy, do you know anything about the substance? 1,400 gallons of blood, Chad. Yes.
I don't know where my wife is looking up her movie info, but that's what pops out of her mouth last night.
She got a notification.
Hey, set an all-time record for fake blood, apparently. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to see it. I'm good. Yeah.
Buy or sell number 2, Cowboys lost at the very end to Washington at home to end the season. But Trey Lance played pretty well. Clap for the Cowboys.
I'll sell.
Because now they got the 11th pick in the draft.
Yeah, I'm going to sell clap for the Cowboys. Let's not go that far. I wasn't even watching when the play happened. I was paying attention to other games that really mattered. Insulted by the fact that Lance started that game. Really insulted now that you told me the Cooper Rush story. So, no, I cannot clap for that football team today. Sorry. Can't do it.
Yesterday was my favorite day of the season.
So disappointing.
Buy or sell number 3. If I tell you that on a 1 to 10 scale of anger, I was at an 8 after Liverpool drew at home to Manchester United yesterday, you would buy. And if you had to pick a number, you'd guess the over from an anger standpoint.
I don't know enough about which team is what, but I'm just going to generally buy because you're way, way, way in, and I'm guessing you got pretty fired up. Sure, buy.
Generally, a buy would be the correct answer, but somehow yesterday I kept it simmering at a 6. I felt under control.
Good for you. Well done. You didn't break any of your stuff. You didn't go on a message board and use the C word too much.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I don't even know if my kids knew there was a game that was played yesterday.
Even better.
I mean, I did yell a couple of times. There's just sometimes, you get Tourette syndrome. You just can't help it.
Yeah, you lose your mind.
You just oh, did I just burp the F word? I didn't mean to do that. That just happened.
By the way, just because you said the word, have you seen this show coming on? I think it's TBS. It's like a girl with one of the most severe forms of Tourette's. She's this attractive, she looks like she's 18 to 21, somewhere in that range. And there's a whole reality show just devoted to her.
Okay, I'll watch that. I think maybe at least for an episode. I told you that I convinced my kids that my wife Heather has Tourette's. And honestly, it makes, because it used to be oh, mom said a curse word. You know what I mean? I think they'd almost get nervous, oh, right. No, someone's in trouble. And now it's mom's got Tourette's.
That's it. Now they can use that.
Mom said the F word 17 times in a row. She's got Tourette's.
You think that's what Tom says when Camilla says, make love to whoever you want?
No. I wonder, does Camilla get autograph requests in Boston?
She probably does. Yeah.
Does anybody recognize the voice and they go, wait a minute, wait just a minute.
What did you say?
Did you say the word make? Say make again. Say it. Say make. It could get pretty weird and creepy. She's a published author, though. So, like,
she's used to all that.
She is a Renaissance woman if there ever was one.
No doubt. No doubt.
She goes to school in Boston. She's written a book. She does commercials.
Yeah, she's helping Tom run the business. I mean, she does it all.
You know what that's like? It's like when, what's the announcer that gets overexcited?
Gus Johnson.
It's like when Gus Johnson talks about Jenny Taft and he calls her the All-American Girl.
Yeah, he made it an acronym in the last the AAG. Did you hear that one?
No,
he said the AAG. Oh my God!
There's a part of me that really hates Gus Johnson. Like, there's a part of me that digs Gus Johnson.
I love Gus, but I do get uncomfortable every time he does that. I'm assuming she's cool with it.
Say that AAG.
He did. He said AAG. It makes me uncomfortable every time he references her, but she seems to be all right with it. So I was like, all right.
Jenny's doing well.
Yeah, hey, I guess.
Jenny does not need me clutching my pearls for her.
No.
But
it's just such in his voice, it's such a wonderful oversell every time. But they've done it so much. It's like their thing. Now she probably she probably feels like she's not doing the game unless he says it. Now he has to say it.
It's the on button.
Right. Who are we to get in the way? She needs to hear. Let's go down to the All-American Girl, Jenny Taft. She needs it.
I can't even say what I'm thinking, which is the second or third time that's happened on today's show. Believe it or not, I have restrained myself.
That's two filters, kids.
Multiple filters.
Mm-hmm.
It may not seem like it because I have cursed on the show already and told that Tourette story and have openly questioned like at what age, I'm just trying to be a good dad today. Like at what age does normalcy kick in? Because I'm not normal right now. I'm still like, you're 10. Put some clothes on. Like 3 sets of clothes.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. And finally, buy or sell number 5. You watched the Golden Globes last night and you saw something that you hadn't seen, but are now inspired to see what that's about. So you are now going to see something that you wouldn't have previously watched because the Golden Globes won you over.
I think that technically has to be a sell. There was a movie I wanted to see before it started that I now want to see even more after seeing the Golden Globes, and that's the Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran.
That's on Amazon now.
Movie. That's a movie I've been trying to get my wife and daughter to want to watch, but that didn't start last night. So technically, it's a sell. Like I didn't want to see Shogun coming out of it. That didn't make me want to see The Brutalist. I can't think of anything that was dealt with. I've seen A Complete Unknown. It would have been that. I was rooting for Chalamet to win for that, but I already saw that one. So technically it's a sell, but I do want to see the Jesse Eisenberg movie. I'm a fan of his, and I
almost watched. You know what happened? I almost watched that last night on Amazon.
Yeah.
But I decided, you know what? I need to watch this M. Night Shyamalan. What's his name?
M. Night Shyamalan?
Yes, I always say the last name wrong. I need to watch his latest because Josh Hartnett's in it, and I thought the previews were good.
Oh, that's the Trap movie, the concert that's bad? That's a bad face? Oh, okay. That's not good. We just watched the Jason Bateman movie. I enjoyed that one. It was pretty good. Carry On. That's decent.
M. Night hadn't been in, like, M. Night used to be a G, man. Like, I'm not I watched it in part because I was like, M. Night might kill it because he's capable of that.
But if you're a fan of his, like my wife is, she will tell you there are a couple along the way that don't quite measure up.
This is one of them. It's shot in a weird way that feels. You ever watch a TV show and you're like, oh, so this is what it looks like when a real studio doesn't shoot something?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way the movie felt. It's like, why do I feel like I'm watching an episode of Bosch?
Just too grainy, too simple.
I don't know if simple is the right word. It's just there was a style of filmmaking that felt almost home video camera-ish. Like, I don't know. It's hard to completely explain other than I felt like I was watching Major Crimes on TNT as opposed to a major $50 million movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. I got you. Does that make
any sense at all?
I have not seen it yet. My wife, I think, recorded it and wants to watch it. So at some point we may watch it. We can discuss after that.
I mean, it's not faultless, or it does have some value. I didn't hate the movie, but the preview. Let me say, the preview is one of the better previews of those types of movies that I've seen in a long time. Like, it hooks me in. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like that could be really good. Taken, but Josh Hartnett is a serial killer. So instead of saving, he's killing. And in the end, it just wasn't what I'd hoped it would be. I was really hoping to come away and be like, yo, do you know what's on Amazon that you need to watch? Trap. Now it's like, you know what? You should probably watch that other movie you were talking about.
You should probably go watch the Jason Bateman movie. Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough. That was your 5, right?
Yes.
Okay, couple other super chats we had here. Barb's 10 before we started there, $5 super chat. We tore up that Sirloin Stockade buffet in Victoria and Lockhart during junior high football season. You know they hated it when that bus pulled in the lot. No, they didn't. No, they didn't, Barb's 10. That's probably the only time like 12 people walked in there at the same time.
First of all, when I first started McCallum, we had off-campus eating like every grade.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a freshman in high school and all you have to do is walk across the street to a Sirloin Stockade,
dude,
it's like, oh, well, all I have is $4, but you know what I can eat? Like 8 bowls of ice cream and a steak.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, if Sirloin Stockade is not made for junior high football season, then I don't understand junior high football.
They used to take us at McCallum before a varsity game. We'd be getting ready to play Reagan or LBJ, and the football coaches would take us to Sirloin Stockade. What do you think happened at that place?
And
let me tell you, when game time rolled around, we were not at our we weren't on our tippy toes, on the balls of our feet, ready to pounce like a cat.
You know what they say, Catch? The best way to get ready for a big football game is a steak and a baked potato. It is the best way.
Oh, and look, you've never seen Sirloin Stockade rated until you've seen a high school football team kill the ice cream counter.
Oh, and ice cream, right?
Perfect. There's no more sprinkles left. The only thing left is like 2 of the pieces of banana. We're having to change the machine because it's out of ice cream.
We got a McCallum game this week. We got enough sprinkles.
I'm telling you, every week. Why did you guys go 3-6-1 in your senior year? Well, maybe because from a nutrition standpoint.
Oh my God. That reminds me of like every high school tennis trip that I can recall, Catch, on the road. It featured at least 1 or 2 boxes of donuts. And as I look back, I go, that probably wasn't the best way to get ready.
Those 9 a.m. tennis matches. The Breakfast of Champions.
On the court at
holes from
Yeah, on the court at 8:30. Well, let's crush donut holes at 7:15. That's the way to go, right? Sure. Let's do that.
I mean, the football team would go to Sirloin Stockade and murder that place. And guess what? Afterwards, every player would need a 2-hour nap.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you'd go get lunch, and then you just come back to the field house and collapse.
Nap out, wake up in time for the game. That's how to do it.
April fresh by 6 o'clock.
That's how Jerry Rice did it, and he's a Hall of Famer. Thank you, Barb's 10, for that one. Catch, I'll admit I don't know either of these names. Tracy for $2, buy or sell. Molly Kieran, hotter than Joy Taylor?
All right, look. Tracy, shame on you.
This is a shame?
Look. So Molly is the host of First Take. She's the woman that married Jalen Rose, but they've since been divorced.
Gotcha. Okay. And Joy is the new.
No, Joy is on Fox.
Oh, she's the host. Okay. I see.
But there is a lawsuit Here's what I don't want to do. I don't want to get sued. I have not paid enough attention to this story, but I've had a couple people mention it to me.
Molly.
Apparently, Skip Bayless is involved in a lawsuit.
Oh.
And allegedly in the lawsuit, he wanted to have an affair with her.
With Molly or Joy?
With Joy.
Okay.
Which allegedly Joy told him, but you're a married man. At what point he allegedly told her, yeah, but you're Muslim. You guys like to have 3 or 4 wives and husbands anyway.
Dang. Wow. Okay.
And it turns out that she may have not been sexually harassed by some other people that work at Fox, and there have been names that have been thrown away. And it's just it's a scandal.
It's a thing. All right, it's a thing.
It's a thing. Let me tell you what. Yesterday, I went onto Twitter and I typed in Rodney Terry's name, and it was not good. People are not happy with Rodney. The commentary, not good. Not good, Bob. Don't go type in Joy Taylor's name. I haven't.
Okay. Yeah.
But I know what Twitter is in 2025. Guaranteed you're going to get porn.
Yeah. Okay.
Within 4 results, which, look, man, if that's what you're into and you're not at work, type Joy Taylor into Twitter and see what happens.
And apparently, from what I'm getting from the chat today, that there's a former Longhorn that may also be involved in the Joy Taylor part of the story. So we will not get into those particulars. But Tracy, thank you very much. I don't know what I would do with it. I'll just buy, I guess. You're buy or sell there.
I'm a Molly guy if we're picking teams. Just FYI.
Yeah, right. That's a good battle though. It's a really good battle.
Good hotter than.
It's a very similar look.
It's sketchy to do it today.
It is a little sketchy to do it today. Both very attractive. Both do great work.
Today you put Nikki Glazer in a super chat. You don't put a woman who's in the middle of a lawsuit. I'm just saying.
Yeah, there you go. One other one here from Tom.
That's everybody's man lesson of the day. Like bedside manner, time and place.
Yeah. Tom G with a $5 super chat. 11th pick in the draft. Do you go running back from Boise State if he's there? I think we should. Tom G.
Nope.
A Cowboys fan, obviously. You don't want that one, Catch?
It just depends. Is his name Jahmyr Gibbs or not?
Yeah, that is such a specific.
The problem with taking a running back there is you're taking him like for 4 or 5 controlled years best, because you're not paying that guy a second contract. That's the new rule. Now, Saquon Barkley has made us all think that rule might be somewhat stupid, but it is a general rule of thumb.
Yeah, that you start there, and you're gonna get a fairly reasonable value up front, but then you're right.
The second Murray rule. You can run his ass into the ground that last year that you control him, but at some point he's going to want the big payday, and you're not going to. And the thing is, with that pick in the draft, deep down you want to take somebody that's going to be with you for a decade. You want to hit the pick, and you want to hit the pick to such a degree that guy gets a second contract. So. Dude, it was hard to watch the Detroit Lions last night or Atlanta yesterday and think to myself, they were wrong to pick either Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, they're spectacular players. But you could even make the case that not with the Lions now, but like the Falcons are going to be going into year 3 of Bijan next year. And what do they have? They have nothing yet. And at some point, if they get good, that's when they're going to have to pay their running back, which is exactly when they don't want to do it. It's like having a young quarterback. The whole purpose of having a young quarterback is that you want him to start while his ass is cheap. So I don't know, man. This is the first time that I can remember going into a Cowboys offseason where I don't have they got the 11th pick in the draft. They need to do this. I don't have that feeling.
Yeah, I agree with you. Tom G, it's a good question, though. And it will be, that's going to be one of those questions that gets asked as that pick is coming up. If he's on, you would assume he'll be on the board.
It doesn't feel like it. Cowboys 20, and I say this as a positive. The Cowboys drafting a running back in the first round does not at 11. They will view 11 as a premium pick, as they should.
Yeah, it'll be a good test of what do they consider valuable at 11. Because there have been moments where you'll watch them in a draft and they don't value what other teams value. Like we know they don't value safeties and they don't value.
But you know what? That actually lends more credence to what I'm saying. They don't love safeties at the top of the draft because at some point they just decided that is not a premier position. We would rather sign some guy off the street and pay him minimum than like invest a premium pick into that position. How do we know that? Because they haven't taken a safety early on since Roy Williams. They lived through the Roy Williams experience of the early 2000s, and they were like, well, that wasn't terrible, but by the end, it was not good. Should we ever do anything remotely like that again? Nope. Okay.
Yep.
So no matter how bad they've been at safety, and no matter who's been available at whatever point in the first or second round, Ronnie Lott could be on the table.
Yep. Free agency, none of it.
They'd be like, we'll take a tight end. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'm amazed they still start safeties. Honestly, I'm surprised, Catch, that they don't just throw like 7 linebackers.
But I like the discipline of like, look, if we have a top 10 pick, what are positions we will allow ourselves, and it's the 11th pick, but it could have been the 10th if the 49ers had found a way to beat Kyler Murray yesterday, but of course Kyler Murray dicked it off. Quarterback, yep. Running back, wide receiver, yep. Left tackle, yep. Guard or center, nope. Defensive tackle, yep. Edge player, yep. Linebacker. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
it better be. Yeah.
I'm leaving the possibility open, but it better be Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, it better be a hound dog.
Say cornerback, yes. Safety, no. So, like, look, half the positions are a yes, half the positions are a no. So I'm okay in theory. Quarterback, wide receiver, tackle, D tackle, edge, corner. 6 positions. It's the 11th pick in the draft. They should get a good player.
Yeah,
and
Sailor Joe.
They had Rico Dowd playing at the end of the year, Chad, and I was like, you know what? Whatever we want to say about the Cowboys, Rico Dowd's not the worst player on this team. I mean they got bigger needs than that dude.
Yeah. Sailor Joe asking about the pick. He put 12th. We know it's the 11th pick, but there you go, Joe. We were getting right into it as you sent that super chat. We appreciate your $1.99.
So let me lay it out for you. The Cowboys, because they got the 11th pick, so they're probably not going to get the best of anything. Okay, you're not going to get the best left tackle. You're not going to get the best D tackle or edge or corner or wide. You know what I mean? Like you can just close your eyes and go, yeah. The best of that's probably gone. It's a little bit like last year when it was like, you think Byron Murphy will draw? Oh, no, he did not. Because there aren't enough of those guys around for them to just weirdly drop. If I say, and I know you won't have the names in your head, so this is like just an idea. Second quarterback, second best wideout, second best tackle, second best D tackle, second best edge player, second best corner. You know nothing else other than it's the second best of one of those 6 positions. Nothing jumps out?
I mean, just knowing that part, I would think tackle. You got to protect your quarterback. You've got your quarterback. You want to protect him?
Man, we ain't got shit.
That might be where I go. But, they don't have a lot at every position.
Look, if they had a top 5 pick, they'd absolutely be in discussions for a quarterback.
Right, but I'm saying with what they've done with Dak at 11, they won't think of it that way. They're not going to think of a quarterback there.
Why did they make that Trey Lance trade?
So, we've talked about that. I have no idea. I have no clue. I don't because, At the
When
beginning,
that sounded like a good idea. At some point, somebody said, well, and hey, like if Dak gets hurt, we'll put Lance in, right? Well, why wouldn't we? Well, we do have Cooper Rush. At some point, somebody, before they gave up a 4th-round pick, had to have said, well, yeah, we're not going to let Cooper Rush get in the way of a potential decision-altering act. And they did.
yeah.
Because they got to win games. For a coach who may keep his job?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. Tom, you created that at the end of the show. I hope you're proud of yourself.
I'm officially ready to get off the show now.
I can tell. Tom did it to you. Over 1,000 of you in the Specs chat. Before we head out, let's just remind you about that watch party one more time, and we'll tell you about hijack poker as well. But first, the watch party, it is Friday evening. It's a regular week for us, except, of course, the game is Friday evening. So make your plans. Those specials start at 5:30 this week. Let me give you a new shot of the room and some food ideas. This is what I did last time. The bad beat bacon, the Cajun salmon. I know. You would never recommend salmon to someone. I get it. I really do. But damn, it's a good piece of salmon. The Cajun sauce is excellent. I do the broccoli and corn to make myself feel like I'm a little healthier. Broccoli's excellent, by the way. And the corn's kind of a street corn, grilled corn kind of vibe. That beer on the right, you got your $1 draft. You got your $2 jellyfish. That's a jellyfish in case you care. From 5:30 to 1 hour after the game. And every one of those individual screens up top is 55 inches. It is a big old giant 8x4 in total. And that's where we watch the games at TCH Social Austin. Come see us, 183 in Anderson Mill on Friday evening. And remember, inside the great state of Texas, if you love online poker, get yourself to Hijack Poker. You can put the app on any device you want. Use the code OB20 to get $20 in free play. Check them out. Texas Card House, bringing you House Divided each and every day. We are just about ready to close the door. Somebody in the chat said they are excited about the week, the game, maybe another Brian Jones conversation. We are hoping to grab Brian on Thursday before, the first semifinal and the second. He was fantastic as always on Friday. Hopefully we'll be able to have catch
You really
as a part
must
of
think I hate him, man. Of all the days I could have got sick last week.
I know. And he asked at the end, I explained to him what was going on, and he said he hopes that you'll be able to, to do it this week. But
the thing is, I felt so sick, I didn't want to talk to his ass. There are times when you're sick and you look at the clock and you go, oh, if I was dressed in front of the computer, I could be talking to Brian right now. And there's that moment when you're like, I kind of wish I was doing that right now.
No, didn't happen. Yeah. So we did that. Brian, you'd have appreciated it. Brian and I went down a weird road of television shows, and it was very strange. You can go back and check that one out from last.
I just wanted a nausea pill to work. Oh my God.
There you go. We will take a shot at that on Thursday. Remember, Football with Friends comes up tonight at 6. We will do the Outsiders tonight at 8:30. Review what Texas has done, but looking forward specifically to Ohio State. This line sitting at 6 and the portal edition of Travis Shaw. We'll get into all that tonight on the Outsiders. Old Fashioned tomorrow at 9, and the famous Modcast show tomorrow at 10 with the fellas. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and getting those notifications. A little over 1,000 folks in the Specs chat as we get ready to close up. Thank you so much. You guys have a good rest of your Monday. Stay warm if it's getting cool where you are, because it is for a lot of folks around the state of Texas and Ohio State coming up Friday night. Y'all take care until tomorrow at noon. We are House Divided. See ya.